Donald Trump's cabinet selections continue to suggest that the U.S. will continue going in the direction of the dark ages after President-elect Donald Trump takes office. We now are talking about orthopedic surgeon and Republican Representative Tom Price, a six-term congressman. He is President-elect Donald's choice to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. Tom Price is one of the biggest destroy Obamacare advocates. I don't know how that's going to play now that Trump has called some of the Obamacare provisions very good. But there's one area where I do want to give Tom Price credit. Most Republicans who say repeal the Affordable Care Act have no plan in terms of what to replace it with. Tom Price has at least put forward something called the Empowering Patient First Act. Now, it's a total abortion. It's a disaster, but at least it's something, right? And it would include age-adjusted tax credits for people to buy individual and family health plans, a very, very supposedly pro-market plan. It would also have some incentives for people to contribute to health savings accounts and a few other provisions. So what do we know about Tom Price, the guy who is going to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services? Let's go through some of the ideas that we know about Tom Price. Number one, Tom Price supported legislation to bar federal funds for Planned Parenthood. Disaster. Number two, Tom Price has a score of 0 from Planned Parenthood Federation of America. That's a very low score. As you can imagine, 0 is quite low on the number line. Tom Price referred to the, quote, barbaric abortion practices at some Planned Parenthood clinics. And Tom Price is an outspoken opponent of abortion, receiving a 100% rating from the National Right to Life Committee. That's like getting an A+ from the NRA. It's not good. Also called the Supreme Court's same-sex marriage decision, quote, not only a sad day for marriage, but a further judicial destruction of our entire system of checks and balances. That one makes me throw up a little bit in my mouth. Also, Tom Price favored amending the Constitution to define traditional marriage. Can you think of something more retrograde? Favors privatizing Social Security, a total and utter disaster, and believes that marijuana is a gateway drug, rated a -10 by NORML, NORML, the End the Drug War organization. So you're going to have a guy running Health and Human Services who thinks that a crucial and legal medical procedure should be abolished, already a bad start, and then, of course, believes that it's a great idea for healthcare to be at the base level, something for big corporations to make money on. Hard to think of a worse pick to be working in the area of health and human services, isn't he?
Yes, but he can't act unilaterally outside of Congress. But I mean, from day one, he will be able to work from the branch of CMS that works with delivering, testing, implementing payment for healthcare. So that is pretty broad.
This is an argument that's after every single one of these horrible picks, you have the people who say absolute disaster. This is a train wreck. And then others who say, you know, these federal positions, they sort of set the general direction, but they're not necessarily doing that much. I'm sort of in between. I mean, the federal outlook on a lot of these issues does two things. Number one, it does influence states, particularly states that are of the same party. So when you have Republicans in the cabinet, their ideas are going to influence Republican legislatures across the country. And number two, Pat, when it comes to funding, a lot of the things that states do in these areas are funded federally, at least partially. So it does have an impact.
And he's talked even about phasing out Medicare and Medicaid and putting that responsibility more on the states. And I guess it is good that he has a plan to replace Obamacare, but not if it's a bad one.
It's a bad plan. Yeah. And you know, we talked yesterday, Rachel, about how the phrase "in looking for the silver lining, ... is going to be a very common phrase during the Trump administration. Yes. Tom Price is not so irresponsible that he says get rid of Obamacare without some kind of plan. It happens to be a horrible plan, but it's a plan nonetheless. And I tend to be more on the side of, even if the specific powers of some of these positions don't directly impact what goes on at the state, in many states, maybe not Massachusetts, we've had Romney Care for much longer than the Affordable Care Act has been around, it is going to have an impact. And I don't think we should understate the importance of having a nut like Tom Price in power.
I don't think we should understate the importance, but I do think the silver lining is what I said, is that he can't act unilaterally now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, you know, you're jumping on board to the let's find a silver lining meme that we're increasingly looking for here.